So, now that Cassandra's out of earshot, I mean, you go from being the most wanted criminal in Thedas to... Most people would have spread that out over more than one day.
It's not so bad. I'm taking it in stride.
Better than most of us, then. For days now, we've been staring at the breach. What bad for morale would be an understatement. I still can't believe anyone was in there and lived.
I'm still not sure I believe that
If this is all just the Maker winding us up, you might want to consider running at the first opportunity. Heroes are everywhere. Need something?
Can I ask you something, Varric?
You want to talk about me? I'm flattered. Also inclined toward extravagant lies.
How do you and Cassandra know each other?
You heard about the Kirkwall Chantry being destroyed? The guy responsible, the Seeker, had questions about that. And I had answers.
Where did you get that crossbow? I've never seen one like it.
Bianca? She's one of a kind. I got her off a guy in Darktown. Took me a week to pry his dead fingers off the stock.
Who is she named for?
I can't tell you.
And the reason for that is?
Complicated. It's the one story I'll never tell. We just have to leave it at that.
Thanks, Varric.
No problem.
And you've seen no signs of the Grey Wardens anymore.
Oh, Maker, you were him. You were the Herald of Andraste. She sent you to us to show the world her love. And I am ready for that love. Well, I'm not ready for that kind of love. That is, unless that's what... I mean, I'm Flisser. Can I get you a drink?
What did you mean by that kind of love?
Nothing. I didn't mean anything. What did you mean? As I said, I'm Flisser. The Inquisition... Nothing fancy. But it's safer for the soldiers than looking for trouble in some village.
You said Liliana asked you to run an Inquisition tavern.
Dumb luck, mainly. I managed an inn back in Denerim. When I heard interesting gossip, I passed word to Liliana. So she asked if I wanted to own my own tavern, and I said yes. I didn't realize she meant this.
What can you tell me about...
Adan is Haven's apothecary. He's been making potions. Harris is the Inquisition smith. Whatever he can make you, Thren the quartermaster can probably find. And for anything fancier, you can try buying from Segrit. Oh, there's also Minave. She studies beasts and...
Farewell.
Goodbye.
The chosen of Andraste. A blessed hero sent to save us all.
I've no interest in being a hero. All I want is to...
Pragmatic. I've journeyed deep into the Fade in ancient ruins and battlefields. I've watched as hosts of spirits clash to reenact the bloody past in ancient wars. Every great war has its heroes. I'm just curious what kind you'll be.
The kind who wins.
That is usually better than loot. I will stay there. At least until the...
Was that in doubt?
I am an apostate surrounded by Chantry forces in the middle of... Cassandra has been accommodated. But you understand my caution.
You might dislike the circles, but if that breach stays open, you'll like what it does to the world even less.
Agreed. Hence remaining here to offer help. But now let us hope either the mages or... Closing the breach is our primary goal. But I hope we might also... Any artifact of such power is dangerous. The destruction of the Conclave proves that much.
Anything with that kind of power is bound to show up sooner or later.
Liliana's people have scoured the area near the blast and found nothing. Whatever the artifact was, is no longer there. In any case, did you need me for anything?
I'd like to know more about you, Solus.
Why?
You're an elven mage. Not from the Circle, not Dalish. You're an unknown element. I wouldn't trust my life to a blade before I'd tested its balance.
Nor would I. All right. What can I tell you?
Have you always traveled and...
Not at all. I have built spirits of wisdom, possessed of ancient knowledge. Spirits of purpose helped me search. Even wisps, curious and playful, would point out treasures I might have missed.
I don't know of any spirit...
They rarely seek this world. When they do, their natures do not offer. Wisdom and purpose are too easily twisted to pride and desire.
You're saying that you became friends with...
They were not demons for me.
Meaning?
The Fade reflects the minds of the living. If you expect a spirit of wisdom to be a pride demon, and if your mind is free of corrupting influences, if you understand the nature of the spirit, they can be fast friends.
You trust these spirits not to possess you the first time you accidentally make a wish?
Do you trust your friends not to turn on you?
Well, yes, but they're people.
Ah, of course.
You know what I mean.
Are people only people because they are flesh and blood? Is Cassandra defined by her cheekbones and not her faith? Varric by his chest hair and not his wit?
Spirits are bound by their nature. You said it yourself. They're shaped by contact with real people.
Just as Liliana was shaped by contact with divine Justinia. As those who serve the Inquisition are shaped by you. If I change your mind in this conversation, does that mean you're no more real than a spirit?
You've thought about this.
On occasion, yes.
You said you'd traveled to many different places.
This world, or its memory, is reflected in the Fade. Dream in ancient ruins, and you may see a city lost to history. Some of my fondest memories were found in crumbling cities, long picked dry by treasure seekers. The best of the battlefields. Spirits press so tightly on the veil that you can slip across with but a thought.
Any place in particular?
I dreamt at Ostagar. I witnessed the brutality of the Darkspawn and the valor of the Ferelden. I saw Alistair and the hero Ferelden light the signal fire, and Logain's infamous betrayal of Kaelin's forces.
I've heard the stories. It would be interesting to hear.
That's just it. In the Fade, I see reflections created by... One moment, I see heroic wardens lighting the fire, and a power-mad villain sneering as he... The next, I see an army overwhelmed and a veteran commander refusing...
And you can't tell which is real.
It is the Fade. They are all real.
What made you start studying the Fade?
I grew up in a village to the north. There was little to interest a young man, especially one gifted with magic. But as I slept, spirits of the Fade showed me glimpses of wonders I had never imagined. I treasured my dreams. Being awake, out of the Fade, became troublesome.
Did spirits try to tempt you?
No more than a brightly colored fruit is deliberately tempting you to eat it. I learned how to defend myself from more aggressive spirits, and how to interact safely with the rest. I learned how to control my dreams with full consciousness. There was so much I wanted to explore.
I gather you didn't spend your entire life dreaming.
No. Eventually, I was unable...
Why?
2 reasons. First, the Fade reflects the world around it. Second, the Fade reflects and is limited by our imaginations. To find interesting areas, one must be interested.
Is this why you joined the Inquisition?
I joined the Inquisition because we were all in terrible danger. If our enemies destroy the world, I would have nowhere to lay my head while dreaming of the Fade.
I wish you luck.
Thank you. In truth, I've enjoyed experiencing more of life to find more of the Fade.
How so?
You train to flick a dagger or an arrow to its target. The grace with which you move is a pleasing side benefit. You have chosen a path whose steps you do not dislike because it leads to a destination you enjoy. As have I.
We'll talk later.
Goodbye. Greetings.
What do you know about the Fade?
A great deal, from my wanderings. There are few hard facts. but I can share what I have learned.
I'd like to know more about demons.
The Chantry says that demons hate the natural world and seek to bring their chaos and destruction to the living. But such simplistic labels misconstrue their motivation. Spirits wish to join the living, and a demon is that wish gone wrong.
Is there a way to coexist? To live with them, if not in peace, at least without such active confrontation?
Not in the world we know today. The veil... But the question is a good one, and it matters that you thought to ask.
I'd like to know more about the breach.
Simply put, it is a tear in the veil between this world and the Fade, allowing spirits to enter the world physically. Small tears occur naturally when magic weakens the veil, or when spirits cluster at an area that has seen many deaths. But your mark allows you to exert some control over the breach. That means it was created deliberately.
I'd like to know more about the veil.
Circle mages call it a barrier between this world and the Fade, but according to my studies in ancient elven lore, that is a vast oversimplification. Imagine if spirits entered freely. If the Fade was not a place one went, but a state of nature like the wind.
I don't know if I can imagine that.
Try. Imagine if spirits would... Yes, it can drown careless children, but it can also carry a merchant's goods, so that is what the world could be if the veil were not present. For better or worse.
We'll talk later.
Goodbye.
Look who's back from the dead. Again.
I don't recall meeting you before.
I'd be surprised if you did. You weren't particularly coherent. Someone had to patch you up after you staggered out of making knows where, though. So, you're welcome.
It has been a rough few days.
That's an understatement. And more ahead. Name's Adan. I'm in charge of keeping our little band. Not that Seeker Pentagast seems to care whether we've got the supplies to actually do that.
Is there anything I can do?
We're fine as far as raw labor goes. You've more... I only wish I'd been able to find Master Tajin's notes. Old bastard was working on... He died at the Conclave, and his notes weren't here. Been too busy dealing with the wounded to look for them.
How are your people holding up?
There's no shortage of work. That's for damn sure.
Farewell.
No, my lord. I don't know where the other nobles are. I'll suggest you ask Ambassador Montillier. Oh, you're him. Thren, Inquisition Quartermaster. I'm doing what I can to supply this mess. If you find what I need to fill one of my requisitions, I'd appreciate you bringing it in.
Farewell.
Make her go with you.
Blessed are the peacekeepers. Blessed are the righteous. In their blood, Is that what you want from us? Is death your only blessing?
You speak for Andraste, no? What does the Maker's Prophet have to say about all of this?
How is this a game?
Do you see the sky? What about the temple ruins? Even if you didn't support the Divine's peace, you wouldn't call this right. Who... So many innocent lives. The faithful. If the Maker willed this, what is it if not a game or a cruel joke?
Awful things happen every day. Get used to it.
Get used to being a pawn? To be discarded when the Chantry teaches that the Maker abandoned us. He demands it all. Justinia gave him everything she had, and he let her die.
People are killed all the time.
If the Maker doesn't intervene to save the best of his servants, I used to believe I was chosen, just as some say you. I thought I was fulfilling his purpose for me, working with the... But now she's dead. It was all for nothing. Serving the Maker meant nothing.
Maybe you have another purpose. I could help you find it.
No, this is my burden. I regret that It was a moment of... Come. To work.
I hope that wasn't meant to be me.
What? That?
You obviously don't like somebody.
Did I do the right thing? What I have set in motion here could destroy everything I have revered my whole life. One day they may write about me as a traitor, a madman, a fool, and they may be right.
What does your faith tell you?
I believe you are innocent. I believe more is going on here than we can see. And I believe no one else cares to do anything about it. They will stand in the fire and complain that it is hot. But is this the Maker's will? I can only guess.
You don't think I'm the Herald of Andraste?
I think you were sent to help us. I hope...
What's going to happen now?
Now, we deal with the Chantry's panic over you before they do even more. Then we close the breach. After that, we find out who is responsible for this chaos. And we end. And if there are consequences to be paid for what I have done, I only pray the price is not too high.
You didn't have any choice.
Didn't I? My trainers always said, Cassandra, you are too brash. You must think before you act. I see what must be done, and I do it. But I misjudged you in the beginning, did I not? I thought I cannot afford to be so careless again.
It wasn't like you had no reason to suspect me.
I was determined to have someone answer for... You said you believe you're chosen. Does that mean you believe in the Maker? It must be comforting to be... I have to believe we were put on this path. Now it's simply... It occurs to me I don't actually know much about you.
What do you want to know?
I'm not sure. Where are you from?
I came here from Sahara, actually.
That far away?
My family came there from the northern islands. We landed there after...
The Great Ocean.
Yes. Lands of...
I see. Perhaps asking Liliana was the better choice after all.
I'd like to get to know you.
You would?
Is that problem?
Not entirely. I'm just curious as to your motivation.
No motivation beyond making things between us less...
Antagonistic?
Exactly.
As you wish. My name is Cassandra Pentecost, daughter of the Royal House of Navarra, 78th in line for the Navarran throne. I joined the Seekers of Truth as a young woman, and was with the Order until they withdrew from the Chantry. I remained as the Divine's right hand, carrying out her order to form the Inquisition. And here we are. That's all there is to know, my lord.
You're a member of Navarra's royal family.
The Pentecosts are a very large clan. Half of Cumberland could say the same.
Really?
No, but it feels that way. I have hundreds of relatives so distant they need charts to... And they have them. Oh yes. The Pentecosts value their precious blood like it runs with gold.
So, not on very good terms with your family then?
I do not visit, if that's what you mean. The Pentecosts are famed for dragon hunting, but few actually pursue. Most are fat and lazy. They pay lip service to the Maker and care only. My brother was all that kept me in Navarra. Once he was gone, so was I.
Tell me about your brother.
I would prefer not to speak of Anthony. Another time, perhaps.
You don't seem to like your home.
My family polluted it for me. What little I saw of my homeland was through the bars of a gilded cage. My uncle treated me like a porcelain doll to be placed on a shelf and dusted only when necessary. Thus I did not see Navarra, the real Navarra, until much later. By then I realized I knew it not at all.
Your uncle? What about your parents?
They had the misfortune of taking the wrong side in the second attempt to overthrow King Mark. The king executed them, but spared my brother and I since we were family and children. Thus we were raised by my uncle, a mortalitasi who preferred the company of his corpses to the living.
Your uncle was a mortalitasi?
A death mage. He still is. My countrymen do not burn the dead, they bury them in special crypts. The mortalitasi supervise the crypts, like priests. Navarrans spend more time honoring dead relatives. It is odd to be so fascinated with death and its trappings. I will never understand it.
So you were the right hand?
To Divine Justinia, yes. And Divine Beatrix before her, in fact. The position is normally reserved for Templars of the Knights Divine. But my...
Unusual how?
You don't know the story? Thank the Maker. I will tell you if you wish, but it isn't as exciting. The short version is that I once saved the previous Divine's life. My reward was becoming her right hand.
But what does a right hand do exactly?
What is your hand capable of? It gives, it takes. Liliana and I extended the Divine's reach beyond the Grand Cathedral. After Beatrix, I was tired of the position and wanted to return to the Seekers. But Justinia convinced me to stay. Her vision for the future gave me hope.
You thought you could really change things?
Justinia knew the war was coming long before. She tried to avert it. But the fort, sometimes you have to break a bone so it can be reset. It was to be the answer. A means I only wish she had lived to see it.
So what's the story about you becoming the right hand?
Sweet Andraste, do you really want to hear that? It was, what, 18, 20 years ago? Some still discuss it like it happened. The tale gets bigger each time it's told. I barely recognize myself within it now.
That's what happens with stories that become legends.
I am not a legend, nor was I then. I was a young woman then. To hear others tell it, I alone saved Divine Beatrix from a horde of dragons sent to assault the Grand Cathedral. Rather impressive for such a young seeker, wouldn't you say?
And the truth is?
I stumbled upon a conspiracy to kill Beatrix. A Templar knight, and there was a dragon battle at the Grand Cathedral. But I had helped. They freed the dragons from magical control. Without them, the Divine and I would both... Yet I became the right hand, and they are forgotten.
What happened to the mages that helped you?
They went back to their circles, with rewards and privileges and most holy gratitude. Many of them died at the conflict.
That's rather typical of the Chantry, isn't it?
Even worse, few know of the Knight Commander's involvement at all. That sort of willful blindness needs to change.
I'll let you get back to work.
Do you need something?
May I ask you about the Chantry?
It is difficult to say what becomes of the Chantry now. They have no Templars, no leadership, and no one left who is worthy of it. It has fallen apart when everyone needs it the most. I ache to think what this will mean in the days to come.
I'm surprised you rebelled against the Chantry.
I left my own order when they took the wrong path. It is no different. But in neither case did I stop caring. Indeed, I care so much that I feel drastic action is... I suppose history shall one day judge my actions.
Do you really believe the Chantry is worth it?
I do. But given your beliefs, I'd hardly be surprised if you cast the Chantry aside and new problems replace old ones. We will have learned nothing from history. The people need stability. Andraste had a dream for us. It can still be achieved.
So what should that new purpose be?
A dedication to what is truly important. Instead of building cathedrals and sewing gowns for the divine, the Chantry used to spend its coin feeding the poor. If we are to spread the Maker's word across the world, we must do so with open hearts and open hands.
That sounds rather idealistic of you.
Does it? I do not think it's so unachievable. The Chantry has many good, honest people. They need to be freed from centuries of adherence to tradition and ceremony. A chance for renewal is at our fingertips. It does not have to come with utter chaos.
Will the Chantry replace Divine Justinia?
They will try. Once the priests withdraw for the Grand Consensus, it is against Chantry law for... Sometimes it takes days, or weeks. The problem now is that no clear successor to Justinia exists. All worthy clerics died with her at the conflict.
So what happens if they...
Theoretically, they will argue until exhaustion takes them. Practically, however, if the Grand Consensus goes on, any cleric with ambition but little sense will see this as her one chance. We shall see what happens. The Inquisition must act in the meantime.
If they do choose a new divine, will you serve her?
That depends on whether she would have me. I am a rebel now, remember? And even if she would, I do not know. It would depend on what type of divine she is. I am no longer in a position to follow blindly, and no new divine could expect such obedience now.
What influence does Chancellor...
He's a bureaucrat, responsible for communicating the... Therefore, he's accustomed to the clerics hanging on his every word. Despite that, Roderick is not a bad man. He's frightened, and believe some might agree. As far down the chain of command as he is, there is no one left above him.
How big a problem could he be?
No more than he is already. He sent his message to the College of Clerics. That is the only... Dealing with him further only lends him credibility he doesn't deserve.
Thank you.
Yes?
Can you tell me more about the Seekers?
The Seekers of Truth were born from the original Inquisition long ago, when it united with the Chantry. Seekers stood above the Templars, watching over them but also investigating magical events they couldn't handle. We were meant to be incorruptible, above reproach. How seldom does reality match the ideal?
How does someone become a Seeker?
Most Seekers begin training in their youth. I was much older, an exception due to my... We train rigorously for years. Our bodies and minds must be elastic to undergo the vigil. and most fail even then.
Is the vigil some kind of initiation?
It is the rite every seeker must go through in order. A full year of fasting, prayer, and we empty ourselves of all emotion, focusing on, and the moment it finally ends, it's wonderful. Faith realized. I cannot put it into words.
Your mind is probably playing tricks on you, Valent.
Yet the gifts are real. If the vigil was not so arduous, I'd say, what if mages never needed to fear possession by demons? I'm told it is impossible, however. I suppose I'll never know the truth of it now.
Why did your order turn against the Chantry?
We originally united with the Chantry through a treaty that stated it was felt most holy have tacitly allowed the Circle of Magi to vote on its independence, thus breaking. The Seekers saw themselves as justified, and they led the Templars into a war of righteousness.
You sound like you disagree.
We knew what was happening at Kirkwall, where the Mage rebelled. We looked into reports of Knight Commander Meredith's harsh treatment of her charges years earlier. But we found so many shocking cases of magical corruption. If we'd been there when it happened, if we'd looked harder at the root causes...
Mages were oppressed. What else did you expect?
I expected us to do better. When faced with a problem, the Seekers would close ranks and crush it. We would find an answer, but only once we felt we weren't being coerced. The moment the mages voted for independence, our response was predictable. It was difficult to watch.
What are Seekers?
Those who know anything of us think we are Templars. We do not use lyrium, however. Our ability... We disciplined the Templars and were accountable only to the Divine. And not even her, truthfully.
So, the Seekers commanded the
No, the Order didn't assume command. The Templars have always feared us. When a Seeker arrives, that kind of power is trapped. You begin to think you are the Order. If you don't see a problem, it doesn't exist. If someone insists it does, they are the blind ones.
Do you think that kind of problem could ever be fixed?
Possibly. Though the Seekers themselves would need to change. They were clearly not willing to, even though they abandoned everything they stood for to avoid it. In my heart, I believe they can still be salvaged. But not by...
You mentioned that Seekers have different...
Entirely. A Templar's abilities come from lyric. Ours come from ritual, and many... We cannot be possessed by demons and are immune to mind control. Useful, considering our... Seekers can gain other gifts, but that depends on the individual.
What kind of gifts do you have?
I can set delirium within a person's blood aflame. Some Seekers use it to interrogate. Once there was a Seeker who could use it to kill. That particular gift is considered rare.
I've no more questions.
Something you need.
Is there anything I should know?
It's a present.
That's all for now.
Another time, then. See reason.
You're the one they're
cannot stay
calling
here.
the Herald.
If you know a way to make them stop, I'm all ears.
I don't. These things have a way of taking on their own life. I did not join the Order to adjust my faith so easily, but I appreciate what the Inquisition... Though you may find not many Templars do. We're a distrustful lot by nature.
How did you come to be...
It seemed the right thing to do. My family are tradesfolk in Denarim. I could have become a cobbler like... It's a chance to uphold the Chantry's laws and help the mages through a troubled time.
How can you see Templars as anything but oppressors?
Some people would ask how I could see mages as anything but unstable weapons. What you forget when you ask that question is that they are people, as perfect as they are flawed. One person trying to do something can make a difference. You should keep that in mind, Harold.
You're not going to rejoin the Order?
When the temple went up, your forces rescued those few of us still alive. My life is a debt I intend to repay, however I can.
Do you have any idea what caused the explosion?
No, I'm just a recruit. Belief and faith doesn't get you closer to the important meetings. Though that distance did save my life.
I'd like your take on it.
It's a shadow of what it was. Where once we both protected all people from the dangers of magic, we now posture and grab at power. One day, I hope the circles are again sanctuaries where mages can practice their craft.
I will talk to you later.
Walk in the Maker's grace.
Must be something here.
and make a difference.
Master Dennis' horses in the hinterlands are faster and stronger than anything we've got here. A good horse can make all the difference. The mare I grew up with saved my life. She died.
Only the word. Sing only the chant. Then the golden city.
I spoke with Commander Cutler. I apologise for what I said earlier.
It's nothing. Now, Scout Panane, what can you tell me of Redcliffe?
The mages have been quiet since their attack on the Conclave.
Their attack? Do you have information confirming that the mages were responsible?
Well, I had assumed.
Don't. Our job is to acquire actionable information. Assumptions can lead you to overlook something vital.
With passionate breath does the darkness creep. It is the whisper in the night, the lie of the news. There was no timing.
Need something?
Carry on.
Hello.
We'll talk later.
Goodbye.
We can get that for you.
You're back. And in one piece.
You said you thought Master Tajan was working on something special. If it helps, I found his notes.
The old codger was on the edge of a breakthrough here. You want some of these mixed up? You just give the word.
Farewell.
Perhaps another time.
granted them power over the very fade.
The Inquisition cannot remain, Ambassador. She can't prove...
This is an inopportune time, but allow me to introduce you to the brave soul. Sir Trevelyan, may I present the Marquis d'Aurelion, one of Divine Justinia's greatest supporters.
And the rightful... House d'Aurelion lent Justinia these lands for pilgrimage. This Inquisition is not a beneficiary of this arrangement.
Interesting, considering the Inquisition was begun by the left and right hands of the Divine.
I've seen no written records from Sister Liliana or Seeker Pentagus that Justinia approved the Inquisition.
If you won't take her at her word, I'm afraid Seeker Pentagast must challenge him to a duel.
What?
It is a matter of honor among the Navarrans. Shall I arrange the bout for tonight?
No. No. Perhaps my...
We face a dark time, Your Grace. Divine Justinia would not want her passing to divide us. She would, in fact, trust us to forge new alliances to the best.
I'll think on it, Lady Montilyet. The Inquisition...
Do the Durelians actually have a claim on this place?
His Grace's position is not so strong as he presents it. Despite their Ferelden relations, the Durelions are... If the Marquis wishes to claim Haven, Empress Selene must negotiate with... Her current concerns are a bit larger than minor property disputes.
I'm so pleased the Marquis isn't tossing us...
His Grace is only the first of many dignitaries we must...
You expect more people in Haven?
Undoubtedly. And each visitor will spread the story. An ambassador should ensure the tale is as complimentary as possible.
The Inquisition is lucky to have you as an advocate, Lady Montilyet.
Thank you. Let us hope so. Thedas's politics have become... agitated. But please excuse me. I've much...
If you find anything, please bring it in. You're the Herald. Or, well, the one they're calling the... I hope the Inquisition can restore order soon. My name is Maeve. I research demons and other creatures. Seeker Pentagast and I use what I find to help the soldiers fight them.
You said Cassandra has you researching creatures.
Yes. If you find anything interesting in your travels, I'd appreciate... I may be able to find some weakness our soldiers can At the least, some materials are useful for making potions or gear for the Inquisition.
Why did you decide to
I like the outdoors. The idea of the outdoors, anyway. When some monster is coming at you, glowing eyes and... But once you know how it works, you can deal with it. It's just enough... So much of this world is only frightening because we don't understand it.
You said you were a mage?
No, just an apprentice. I was never very good at magic. I've got just enough talent to be a danger to other people. But when the mages rebelled, people like me had nowhere to go. The Templar... Luckily, Seeker Pentagast took me in, along with the Tranquil I was protecting.
You said that you were keeping some of the Tranquil safe?
Yes. The mages took some of them when my circle rebelled, but the rest were forgotten. Most circle mages look down on the Tranquil, or try to pretend they don't have any emotions. They can barely take care of themselves, can't defend themselves at all. It's a shame. I like them better than most people.
Why would you want to spend time with the Tranquil?
They're polite. They don't bother you if they don't need... When they study, they have a focus no normal But the Templars, even some of the mages, mistreated them just because... If not for that, I don't know. Doesn't really matter.
I'm surprised that even an apprentice mage...
I don't like using magic to fight. I'm not good at it either. I like studying. I like performing rituals that help. I liked having the Templars around to keep us safe.
Most circle mages I've met have a different opinion of the Templars.
They have not lived my life. I was born into a Dalish clan. I lived there. The Dalish cannot risk having too many mages in one clan. And they gave me a pack and sent me into the woods to find my own life. I was 7 years old.
wonder you'd rather stay in the circle. You had more than enough life outdoors.
I stumbled into a village, starving and cold a few weeks later. I started using magic to scare predators away. The villagers saw me make fire in my fist. They were terrified. Templars saved me from them. I've seen what life is like without the Templars, and I want no part of it. I just want to study.
I'll speak with you later.
Travel safely. Please tell me if you find something.